The Rolling Stones, Let It Bleed, right now on States and Kingdoms. Welcome back to States and Kingdoms. Today we're talking about the Rolling Stones, Let It Bleed. This is the 8th installment of our going through the Rolling Stones mono box set. The Rolling Stones in mono box set.
Yeah, the Rolling Stones in mono.
Box set.
Box set.
Got it. 8th time I've said that.
And just getting better
and
and better.
It's getting better. Okay.
Yeah, this isn't exactly the same because this wasn't really mono.
Right, it wasn't originally. It was basically originally stereo.
So the whole thing. So but I figured we'd do this. This is about Let It Bleed. It's not necessarily about the mono version because it doesn't really matter.
We've been mostly talking about the albums as albums anyway.
I mean, this we have on CD. I have on CD.
And you have it.
I have it.
Okay.
It's right over here. So I know the sound of that definitely better. This, it does sound different, and even though it does suit a couple of the songs, yeah, whatever. Anyway, So Let It Bleed.
Ew.
Bleed. Both of us really like, and a lot of Stones fans, they love Beggars Banquet. They don't all love Their Satanic Majesty's Request, although we both really like that album, and also Between the Buttons and Aftermath.
Yep.
Actually, there are no Stones albums.
They've all been a lot of fun. The ones I didn't know so well have been a lot of fun, and the ones I did know, it's just been extra fun listening to them a little more in depth.
They're all solid, really solid to great. And this is the period where this is the period I went to first, really. I mean, Aftermath.
Right.
But then this, so it's like, you listen to Beggars Banquet, you listen to Let It Bleed,
and then kind of like classic
Sticky
period.
Fingers and Exile on Main Street, and then you probably stop.
Right. Then you go straight to Voodoo Lounge.
Yeah. After Exile on Main Street, you have to take like a 20-year break. So this is where I went, and I actually think we're talking about this without following them chronologically. Not that you can't get into it or you can't enjoy it, because I was fine with these albums.
Right.
But it really does heighten your appreciation of the Rolling Stones. I think it's a band you really should listen to chronologically.
It's funny how much of a difference that seems to have made just in my listening experience, for sure. It really has, not like I needed help, like understanding where they're coming from. I needed a little help. So hearing, every step of the way, what they sounded like, the songs, the style, just hearing it as the albums progress, and their progression is not like a typical progression for a band of the time, and it's not. We've said this before in all these videos. We say you can't really compare the Rolling Stones to almost any of the other bands.
Well, you shouldn't compare them to the Beatles.
You definitely shouldn't compare them to the Beatles.
It's a very different thing.
It's even hard. You can't really compare them to the Who or the Kinks.
No, in some ways, like this album. I'm sorry, are you done?
I can be.
Okay. This album, this period for the Stones, is kind of almost more like the Byrds. Because the Byrds were, they start with like what I call folk rock, and then it gets more psychedelic. But it's still, all the garnishings of like psychedelia. But they're still kind of doing the same thing underneath.
Music.
Doing their country folk stuff, and then they just drop that, and it's just straight country. It's Sweetheart of the Rodeo or the Rodeo. Have it your own way.
Road.
And then of course the Flying Burrito Brothers, which is an offshoot, just straight country. And that to me is sort of similar to the way the Stones they went from doing this to doing this. Yeah. But just, better.
But they were always doing this.
Yeah, no, they went from here to here. Just, but
the songwriting kept getting better.
Yeah, everything just developing. Yeah. And I mean, even more than the Byrds, I would say, these albums are, I love Sweetheart of the Rodeo, and, but I don't love it as much as Beggars Banquet, as far as,
Oh, so this is about you.
It's all about me.
Okay.
I'm just trying to make the analogy make sense to me, but now it's just slowly slipping away.
No, it made sense.
Okay.
Just let it go. Drop it.
So anyway, the point really, I think, was that, the United States shouldn't even be in Southeast Asia.
Does the Triclear have my car?
The one thing about this, it is noticeable that Brian Jones is not there. And from now on, of course, he's not going to be there.
Right. I said this before, I didn't fully appreciate Brian Jones. I didn't understand, exactly where he fit in the band and what a leadership role he had, and also just instrumentally and musically, like what he added to the band on those early albums. Now that I understand that, I can't help not miss it. That. Yeah. I hear it. That being said, this is still a super enjoyable album. I really, really like this a lot. Of course, everyone knows "Give Me Shelter." So, the bookends of the album.
Yeah, so extremely famous.
Everyone knows. But yeah, there's a lot of really interesting, subtle variations. Yes, it's a little bluesy, it's a little country, it's a little rootsy. Mm-hmm. But there's also, it's just like really nice subtleties in most songs that keeps it, the rhythmic shifts, the guitar playing, just the really nice interwoven guitar flourishings.
Whether it's just Keith interweaving with himself or with Mick Taylor.
Right. There's just a lot of nuance happening that keeps it really fresh and exciting, and
I think, yeah, I agree. It does sound fresh and exciting. It definitely, because there's a part of me that's like, yes, and this is what you're going to get till the end of time.
Right.
In a way. Like, this is what they're going to be doing in some way or other.
Yeah.
But
if this is kind of
today,
the peak.
Yeah.
Ish.
It's the plateau. Basically. Mm-hmm. I mean, I always, with, they kind of reached here with Beggars Banquet, and then it was kind of like, and they were like that for a few albums.
Coasting?
Well, just plateauing.
Those strong words. Plateau! See how strong?
Plateau. He was a Greek philosopher. What's wrong with that?
I mean, to me, Beggars Banquet, which I really, really do love, and this are pretty close. Pretty close.
But it's really interesting how, all the music, went back to basics, went back to the roots, with, going back to country. I mean, Bob Dylan, with, John Wesley Harding and Nashville Skyline, and even Elvis at his comeback special, was
the country
sort of
stuff.
going back to
It was
even though that was, I mean, he going back to playing somewhat. I mean, he had been, all right, that's a different issue. That's a different issue. His but definitely, playing music and then, touring and playing live, which he hadn't done. But, the Beatles, basically did that. The Byrds did that. The Beach Boys did that even. It just, in 68 and 69. But I honestly don't know if anyone did it quite as well as the Rolling Stones. Yeah. It was always sort of, it's kind of their domain in a lot of ways, and
it's got a real warm, homey sound.
You can get like a nice lo-fi kind of quality, that doesn't have to sound pristine and perfect. And
I definitely don't care how it sounds.
There are some really interesting things. We're talking about like Midnight Rambler is like a kind of a song that I wouldn't necessarily love.
Me, 100%,
I'm not gonna say,
I wouldn't.
I'm not gonna say I love it. Yeah. But I like it.
Yeah.
And one thing that, like you said, was that the Stones really do a good job of, like, longer, whether it's bluesy or more, like, I guess you say psychedelic-ish, like on Satanic Majesties, of varying things, varying tempos, varying rhythms. Yes. Holding your attention in that way. They really do.
Yeah, I didn't notice it at first, but, listening to them, way back. But listening to them now, it's obvious that they have a way of, keeping things moving along. Even, outwardly, maybe you hear something once and you're like, well, that's just a very repetitive song and it's just doing the same thing for, 6 minutes. But then when you really listen to it, it's not like that at all. Things are changing, the rhythms are shifting, there's, some things happening to keep it moving and not sounding super repetitive.
Because Midnight Rambler could easily be, and you know how they vary the tempo and some of the emphasis, and you know it makes that really interesting. It is just interesting.
Also, it's another testament to Mick Jagger's like power as a vocalist, considering that the vocal sound is pretty limited to just his voice, and he just that his style. You don't have other singers in the band. I always gravitate toward groups that have multiple singers.
Keith can sing; they just don't harmonize.
True.
I mean, you know, and I mean he does sing on this album, but I mean it's
but which keeps the sound a certain way.
Yeah.
And but it works.
It works. I mean, yeah.
Although on "Give Me Shelter,"
well,
Mick does do that other kind of like soul thing.
You mean he sounds like a woman?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. It's funny. "Give Me Shelter" is a great song. I've always liked that song. It's so easy. It's easy to like. "You Can't Always Get What You Want" is a song that when it was on the radio, I don't necessarily want to hear it.
I don't know what this means about me as a person, but I always assumed that song before I knew. I thought that song was
earlier,
way earlier.
But it really fits on the album. It really fits on the album. And there's there's the tone on this is very similar to Beggars Banquet. There's a lot of kind of, you could say, soul searching and almost apocalyptic-y kind of feelings, and then with just kind of straight country blues, country songs, and "Let It Bleed's a song. I mean, again, heard it for years and years and years. I feel like we were talking before about how at least Mick Jagger, how he sort of was influenced by Bob Dylan, and I feel like he was his how'd you say that? He kind of assimilated that influence more interestingly than maybe anyone, because he never imitated him, and he never, even on things like Jigsaw Puzzle, and there's some Dylan-esque like imagery and stuff, but it's almost like what he got from Bob Dylan is just being honest.
Yeah.
Being genuine in a way. I don't know, because like "Let It Bleed," it's such a basic kind of song. The message of it.
It doesn't seem simplistic though.
No, it's very
super genuine.
It's just very honest, and I mean, some people need someone to eat ice cream on. That's and I agree.
Yeah.
And I didn't just talk about that so I could say that. I swear.
If there's one song that sticks out on this album for me, it's "Monkey Man." And not in a bad way, because I really, really like the song.
Well, I hope not. Would you bring it up just to like
rag on it?
Yeah.
Damn that song. No, I actually really, really like that song. Again, it's one that reminded me a little bit of Beck, but sure, that's for another day. But it sticks out for me. It's a little bit different from the rest of the album, and it's got
a little angry.
Yeah, just the way that song starts with the piano flourishes, and something about the structure of it just feels a little different. But I really, really like it.
I think this album has a nice mix of styles on it. I think it is kind of, to me, it is the blueprint for the albums going forward, and that's not a bad thing at all. You miss Brian Jones, but it's a solid album. It's really it's always. It always does really something when you put it on.
It plays.
It does.
Thank you so much for watching our discussion of "Let It Bleed." Make sure to let us know what you think of this album in the comments. Please like this video and subscribe to States and Kingdoms. We'll see you next time.